The forest path twisted like a snake, sunlight breaking through in patches. Clara walked with steady steps, humming softly to calm her nerves. Birds fluttered above, but soon their songs faded. The silence pressed in, heavy and strange. She remembered her mother's words, but curiosity tugged at her heart. What lay beyond the path? What secrets hid in the dark corners of the woods? She stepped closer to the trees, touching rough bark, feeling the pulse of nature. Then came a voice, smooth, deep, and almost kind. "Where are you going, little traveler?" Clara turned. A wolf stood in the shadows, tall and lean, with fur as dark as midnight. His eyes glowed gold, sharp yet inviting. Clara's heart raced, but she forced a smile. "To my grandmother's house. She's sick, and I'm bringing her food." The wolf tilted his head, studying her. "Such devotion. But the path is long. Wouldn't you like to see the meadow? Flowers bloom brighter there." Clara hesitated. The meadow sounded lovely, but something in his gaze unsettled her. Still, adventure whispered louder than caution. She nodded. "Show me." The wolf grinned, teeth flashing like silver blades. The game had begun. The wolf led Clara off the path, his movements smooth and silent. The trees opened into a meadow bursting with wildflowers, violet, gold, and crimson. Bees buzzed lazily, and the air smelled sweet. Clara gasped in delight. She ran among the blossoms, gathering handfuls to place in her basket. "Grandmother will love these," she said. The wolf watched her, eyes gleaming. "Yes," he murmured, "she will love them very much." But beneath his calm voice, a plan brewed. He knew the girl's grandmother lived alone, far from the village. If he reached her first, the feast would be easy. Clara was distracted, and time was his ally. "Stay and enjoy the meadow," the wolf said smoothly. "I'll take a shortcut and greet your grandmother for you." Clara frowned. "But I should go myself." The wolf's smile widened. "Of course. But wouldn't she be happier if I prepared her for your arrival?" Clara hesitated, torn between trust and suspicion. The meadow's beauty clouded her judgment. Finally, she nodded. "All right, I'll follow soon." The wolf bowed mockingly and vanished into the trees. Clara felt a chill, though the sun was warm. Something was wrong, but she didn't yet understand. The wolf moved swiftly, paused silent on the forest floor. His mind burned with hunger and cunning. Clara's grandmother lived in a cottage at the far edge of the woods, and if he reached her first, the plan would unfold perfectly. He imagined the feast. A frail old woman, easy prey, followed by the sweet taste of the girl. His golden eyes gleamed with anticipation. The forest seemed to bend around him, guiding his steps faster and faster. Meanwhile, Clara lingered in the meadow, weaving flowers into her basket. She felt uneasy, though she couldn't explain why. The wolf's smile haunted her thoughts. She shook her head, convincing herself it was fine. After all, he had promised to help. But deep inside, the forest whispered warnings. The silence was too heavy, the shadows too sharp. Clara finally gathered her things and hurried back to the path. She didn't know the wolf was already far ahead, racing toward her grandmother's door. The game was no longer playful. It was deadly. Grandmother's cottage stood small and crooked, its roof sagging under years of storms. Smoke curled from the chimney, though the fire inside was weak. The wolf approached, his grin stretching wide. He knocked gently. "Grandmother, it's me, Clara. I've brought food." His voice was smooth, almost convincing. Inside, the old woman stirred. Her bones ached, her breath shallow. She shuffled to the door, expecting her granddaughter's bright face. But when she opened it, terror struck. The wolf lunged, teeth flashing. She screamed, but the forest swallowed her cry. In moments, the cottage fell silent again. The wolf dragged her aside, slipping into her clothes, pulling the nightcap over his ears. He tucked himself into bed, disguising his sharp frame beneath the blankets. The plan was perfect. Soon Clara would arrive, innocent and trusting. She would step into the trap without hesitation. The wolf licked his lips, waiting. Clara hurried along the path, clutching her basket. The meadow's beauty no longer comforted her. Every rustle of leaves made her flinch. She thought of her grandmother, frail and alone, and quickened her pace. When she reached the cottage, something felt wrong. The door was slightly open, swinging in the wind. The air smelled strange, wild, musky, not like the herbs her grandmother usually brewed. "Grandmother," Clara called softly. No answer. She stepped inside. The room was dim, shadows stretching across the walls. Her grandmother lay in bed, face hidden beneath the cap. Clara approached slowly. "Grandmother, I brought food and flowers." The figure stirred, voice raspy. "Come closer, child." Clara frowned. Something about the voice was off, too deep, too rough. She edged nearer, heart pounding. Her grandmother's eyes glowed strangely in the dark. Clara's breath caught. She whispered, "Grandmother, why do your eyes look so bright?" The wolf smiled beneath the covers. The trap was closing. Clara stepped closer to the bed, her basket trembling in her hands. The figure under the blankets shifted, pulling the cap lower. The room smelled of fur and earth, not of lavender and bread. "Grandmother," Clara whispered, "your eyes, they look so big." The wolf chuckled softly, voice rough. "All the better to see you with, my dear." Clara frowned. Something wasn't right. She studied the face again. The nose seemed longer, sharper. "Grandmother, your nose. It looks so strange. All the better to smell you with," the wolf replied, licking his lips. Clara's heart pounded. She stepped back, but curiosity kept her rooted. "Grandmother, your teeth. They look so sharp." The wolf's grin widened, flashing silver blades. "All the better to eat you with." The words echoed through the cottage, chilling Clara's bones. She realized too late that the warnings had been true. The wolf was no friend. He was a predator, and she was his prey. The wolf leapt from the bed, blankets flying. His claws scraped the floor, his teeth gleaming. Clara screamed, dropping her basket. Bread and flowers scattered across the room. She darted toward the door, but the wolf blocked her path. His golden eyes burned with hunger. "You should have stayed on the path," he growled. Clara's mind raced. She grabbed a chair, swinging it wildly. The wolf snarled, knocking it aside with ease. He lunged, snapping at her cloak. The red fabric tore, but Clara slipped free, heart pounding like a drum. She dashed to the window, trying to push it open. The wolf lunged again, claws grazing her arm. Pain shot through her, but she refused to stop. She kicked the wolf in the chest, buying a moment. The cottage shook with chaos. Clara's courage burned bright, but the wolf's hunger was stronger. The fight had only begun. Outside, a hunter walked the forest path, bow slung across his shoulder. He had heard rumors of wolves prowling near the village, and his sharp ears caught Clara's scream. He rushed toward the cottage, boots pounding the earth. As he neared, he saw the door wide open, shadows moving inside. He drew his bow, heart steady. Inside, Clara struggled against the wolf, her strength fading. Just as the beast lunged again, an arrow whistled through the air. It struck the wall, inches from the wolf's head. The wolf snarled, turning toward the doorway. The hunter stood tall, eyes fierce. "Step away from the girl," he commanded. The hunter raised another arrow. Clara clutched her torn cloak. The final showdown was near. The wolf snarled at the hunter, muscles tense, claws scraping the wooden floor. Clara pressed herself against the wall, trembling but determined not to give up. The hunter raised his bow, eyes locked on the beast. "Leave the girl," he commanded again. The wolf laughed, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "She is mine." The forest chose her. With a sudden lunge, the wolf attacked. The hunter fired, arrows slicing through the air. It grazed the wolf's shoulder, drawing blood. The beast roared, fury burning brighter. Clara seized the moment. She grabbed a fallen iron pot from the hearth and hurled it at the wolf's head. It struck with a clang, stunning him briefly. The hunter charged forward, swinging his knife. The cottage shook with chaos, claws against steel, growls against shouts. Clara's heart raced, but courage surged inside her. She was no longer just a frightened girl. She was part of the fight. The wolf lunged again, teeth snapping inches from Clara's face. She ducked, rolling across the floor. The hunter slashed, cutting deep into the beast's side. Blood splattered, dark and hot. The wolf howled, staggering back. His disguise fell away, completely no longer grandmother's shadow, but a monster revealed. His golden eyes blazed with rage. Clara rose, gripping a broken piece of wood like a spear. "You won't hurt her again," she shouted, voice shaking but strong. The wolf sneered. "You think you can stop me, little girl?" He lunged once more. Clara thrust the wood forward, striking his chest. The hunter followed with a final blow, his knife piercing the beast's heart. The wolf collapsed, breath fading. His body shuddered, then stilled. Silence filled the cottage. Clara gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. The danger was over. The nightmare had ended. The cottage was quiet, save for Clara's heavy breathing. The wolf lay lifeless, shadows no longer hiding his menace. The hunter lowered his weapon, wiping sweat from his brow. Clara rushed to the corner, where her grandmother stirred weakly. She had been trapped but not devoured, hidden beneath blankets. Relief flooded Clara's heart. "Grandmother, you're safe now," she whispered. The old woman hugged her tightly, trembling. "You were brave, my child. Braver than I ever imagined." Clara smiled through tears. She looked at the hunter, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded, humble and calm. The forest is dangerous, but courage can light the way. Outside, dawn broke, painting the sky with gold. Clara stepped into the light, her red hood glowing like fire. She had faced fear, fought darkness, and survived. The story of Little Red Riding Hood was no longer just a warning. It was a tale of courage, love, and triumph. Clara and her grandmother, supported by the hunter, made their way back to the village. The red hood was torn, but it glowed brighter than ever in the morning light. Villagers gathered, eyes wide with shock as they heard the tale. Clara spoke with steady voice, though her hands still trembled. She told them of the wolf's trickery, the meadow's temptation, and the battle inside the cottage. The people listened, hearts heavy but inspired. Her grandmother held her hand tightly. "She saved me," the old woman whispered. "Her courage lit the way." The hunter nodded. "The forest is dangerous, but bravery can defeat even the darkest predator." The villagers cheered, not just for the hunter, but for Clara. She was no longer simply Little Red Riding Hood. She was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even the youngest could face fear and triumph. Days passed and the story spread beyond the village. Children whispered it at night. Parents repeated it as warnings, and travelers carried it to distant towns. Clara's red hood became a legend, a mark of bravery. She herself changed. No longer reckless, she understood the weight of choices. She remembered the meadow's beauty, the wolf's lies, and the cost of curiosity. Yet she did not regret her journey. It had taught her strength. Her grandmother recovered slowly, grateful for the love that had saved her. The hunter returned to his patrols, but his respect for Clara remained. He often told others, "Courage is not about size or age. It is about heart." The forest still whispered, shadows still moved, but Clara walked its paths with new wisdom. She knew danger could lurk anywhere, but she also knew she could face it. Years later, Clara's tale lived on. Children wore red hoods in play, pretending to fight wolves. Parents reminded them, "Stay on the path, but remember courage can light the darkest woods." Clara herself grew older, but she never forgot the day she faced the wolf. She kept her torn hood mended carefully as a symbol of survival. Whenever she looked at it, she remembered her grandmother's embrace, the hunter's arrows, and her own trembling hands that had found strength. The forest remained wild, but Clara's story gave people hope. It was no longer just a warning about wolves. It was a reminder that even in fear, there is power. Even in shadows, there is light. And so, Little Red Riding Hood's legend became more than a tale. It became a song of courage, passed from voice to voice, heart to heart.